All right, so let me see. What did I put first yesterday? Vertical or reflexive? Vertical. So right now you got vertical angles, so there's stuff like that. Then we have reflexive. Let's see, so that. Did I draw other ones? Do that one. I'm not gonna add the angles yet.
Sounds good.
All right, see, third. What do we put next? We'll do bisectors next. All right. So what you'll see in a second, the main idea behind you being able to do these proofs is, like I said yesterday, you need to be able to manipulate the drawings. The things that are up here right now, the vertical angles and the reflexive, came from the way it looked. So like you should be able to look at this drawing and go, well, it looks like a bow tie or something. So these two get marked congruent. This is like two things shoved together, so they're like kind of stuck together right there. That's your reflexive part. That needs to be stuff that you need to be able to do at least by the end of tomorrow. The ones I'm going to put up here now are going to be more related to things that are given to you. Okay, and based on what's given to you, I'll mark specific things off on the pictures. All right, so the first one, I'm going to keep this very generic as given, we'll say a bisector. That could be bisecting a segment or bisecting an angle. Now, we've already dealt with this word before, right? Bisect means two equal parts, correct? Right? Splits it in half. So if I say something is bisecting a segment, I would naturally put that two segments are equal. If it was bisecting an angle, I would put two angles are equal. Most of the time, with an angle bisector, and again, this isn't the majority of the time. I'm being this isn't all the time. This is like majority of the time. If you see a diagram like this, a common property that will be given to you outside of the reflexive thing would be they would tell you something like BC bisects angle ABD. That would be a very common thing that comes up, especially in a picture like that. Just because if that wasn't there, there would be less work to do. So this is a way to have like a little bit more work involved in these, because these are fairly short proofs.
Is there another way to say bisects?
What's that?
To write out bisect.
No.
Like a symbol?
No. Okay, so this would be something that is given to you. All right. Usually with the picture here, what you guys should write automatically as a step, like as soon as you see this, you're going to go from given a bisector to writing out there's two congruent parts. And again, with the parts, this is either going to be an angle or a segment. So like in the case over here, I had this drawing. I'm telling you this line is splitting this angle in half, which would make those two angles congruent. So this would be like your statement thing. Statement. This right here is your reason. The word that they're telling you is the reason. I mean, that's what's telling you to allow you to do the whole congruent parts. Segment bisectors. Usually if you're dealing with those, you'll see a picture that looks like these. Okay? So like with the segment bisector, most of the time, it might be in problems like this. And what they would say is, would say something like segment AB bisects segment ED. And again, the way all that it's saying there is it's saying that one bisects the other, not that they both split each other in half. The only thing when you're doing this one, and this is where mistakes get made, is this statement right here is only saying that this segment is being split, not the other one. So the one that they're saying is being split is the only one you can put congruent marks based on what's given. So I'm saying this line, when it passes through, this segment is splitting in half. So that would be those. So this right here would be your statement. So me saying like EC is congruent to CD, that would be a statement. This would be a reason. Another thing that'll come up just like this is they could say C is a midpoint. If they say something's a midpoint, that means it's in the middle, therefore it's going to split things in half. You could even write this, if you wanted to add it to the common properties, you could write it as like a 3B. Like if you're given a midpoint, that's going to lead you to two segments being congruent. That'd be the only point I'm giving you a midpoint, is to make things equal. And again, what you guys are trying to work towards for all this stuff is you're working towards one of these. And everything that's here either represents a pair of sides or a pair of angles. So like all the properties I'm going through are just going to be like quick things that you can do to match up like a pair of angles or a pair of sides. Let's see, the fourth thing. Let's see, what else can we add there? This is on the front side of that paper that you have, but I'm going to add it also here just so you can have a picture with it. And this will be given parallel lines. Okay? If they flat out tell you these lines are parallel, it's going to be expected that you write a statement saying that there are two angles being congruent to each other. Okay? Like 99% of the time, the angles that you mark congruent are going to be alternate interior angles being congruent. Like your statement will be saying which angles are congruent, your reason will be the alternate interior angles are congruent. Where this is going to come up quite a bit is going to be, again, a picture like this. It's a very common picture. They would give you these lines being parallel. If you see a picture like this and these are the parallel lines, the places where your alternate interior angles are going to be those two. So like 1 and 2, so 1 and 2 are congruent. And then those right there. Okay? So like, again, I'm trying to piece this together so that you can, based on what's given to you, you can at least pull 1 or 2 statements out even if you don't complete an entire proof. Okay, so if I'm telling you 2 lines are parallel in a given, I'm expecting everyone to be able to say 2 angles are congruent. Another place you'll see parallel lines will be ones like this. Like with the lines that look like this. Maybe there. Okay. In a picture like this, if they give you parallel lines and your diagram looks something like this, the alternate interior angles are going to be the angles that are actually connected to the parallel lines. So like those two. So 1's congruent to 2 again. But don't automatically assume the other ones are congruent, because they don't have to be. So in a picture like this, the angles they have to connect to those parallel lines. Keep track of all these guys, because these need to be like your reference examples, things you can look back to. Because again, pictures will start repeating, givens will start repeating, you'll start seeing things that happen over and over and over again. And that's stuff that'll pop up on the test. Okay. So I'm going to go through this as the steps I had written out. Like your first step would be mark the givens. Like I said, the ones in the book generally do that for you. On the test, these won't be there, because like that mark right there and that mark right there comes strictly from what's given to you. So your first step would be, if these aren't already on there, add them. Okay? What I generally suggest people do, especially with starting out writing these, is whenever you make a mark on here, put like a little number by it, like 1, just to remind yourself that's the first thing you did, because when you write out your proof, you're going to write it in order of how you marked it. So like when I start writing my proof, the statements and reasons, that'll be the first thing I write. Okay, so there's no other givens to mark. So the second thing said, all right, go to those common properties, whatever the shapes look like, and pull out any properties that were listed on there that would correspond to this picture. Okay? With the way this picture went, like I had this picture in a few different situations, like the last one with parallel lines, but I don't have parallel lines here, so I can ignore that. I also had this with bisectors, but nowhere up here does it say it's bisector, so I can ignore that. There should be one other situation where this picture occurred, and that would be your vertical angles.
Yeah.
So I would say, okay, this thing looks like the shape that corresponds to the vertical angle, so I'm going to go ahead and put congruency marks there. And I'm going to throw a little 2 next to it just to remind myself I did that. Another thing you might want to do, just because this will save you time in terms of writing this out, is this angle right here is technically BCA, and that's the only way you can name it based on what's up there. If you want to save yourself time, number the angles. So when you write your statements out, you can say angle 1 is congruent to angle 2, as opposed to writing angle BCA and DCE are congruent. Okay. All right. So here's the thing. I would be to the point now where I have nothing else common property-wise to mark off, because there's no reflexive sides, there's no parallel lines, there's no midpoints or bisectors, so you're kind of done. All right. So then you would go, okay, for me to end it with saying 2 triangles are congruent, I would hope one of those things is popping up. With what I have marked over there, do any of those match up?
Yes.
Yeah, which one? SAS.
SAS.
So that's gone. So this is the third thing I've come up with. So, yes, please, thank you. Okay? So that means I'm done. This is a 3-step proof. Okay, I've marked off the givens, I marked off the stuff based on common figures, I've decided which one of the methods it matches up to, which was SAS. My only step left would be to actually write the proof out, like organize it so it's in a table. Okay, so this will be, I'll just write it over here. So statements and reasons. All right, so first thing is the givens. If you ever forget, like if you're doing this, the point of having this by it is for me to go, oh yeah, step 1 was me marking the givens off. So BC and DC, BC, BC. 1. Okay. Second thing I did, again, the point of having this on the picture is for me to go back and look and go, oh yeah, that was step 2, me saying the vertical angles were congruent. So since I put numbers by the angles, I can just do 1 and 2. That's vertical angles are congruent. And then third thing was the 2 triangles are congruent, and you're done. So much shorter than last chapter. So again, going through step by step. First step would be mark the givens, which again, it's in the book, so they already did that stuff for you. So your givens would be the congruency marks and the parallel things. There's step 1. Okay, step 2 would be go to the pictures you got, see if the thing matches up to any of the pictures.
Where are those arrows?
Parallel.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So does this thing match up to any of the givens? Or any of the pictures that you have on that sheet? What? Look at them. Use your eyeballs. Look at the pictures. It should resemble a few pictures that you have on there.
The given parallel line picture where the angles are cool.
Yeah, okay, so this part right here, I had a picture like this with the given parallel lines. And I said, like, with the parallel lines, you should mark off angles being congruent, yeah? And I said, look, the ones that you would mark off are the ones that are going to, like, connect to the parallel lines. So there and there. So that's going to be my second step. That was alternate interior angles. Again, this should be something, guys, that like even if you don't complete a proof, everyone should mark off. If you see this in your givens at all, you need to add a step saying alternate interior angles are congruent. The only exception would be if you run into a picture that looks like this, but that's not going to happen that often. We'll deal with that when we get there. Just like last time, guys, I'm going to label these angle 1 and angle 2. Okay? Match up to anything else? Any other pictures like that on there? Look at your pictures. Don't look at the board. You can stare at the board all you want. You got to reference your sheet, though. Yeah, the reflexive thing, this thing. Right there. Okay? So that's going to be step 3, is going to be the reflexive. It should not match up to anything else that's on that sheet. Meaning, the givens are on there, all the common figures are done. I would hope for me to end with 2 triangles being congruent, it will match up to one of those things. Based on what I have marked off of there, does it match up to any of those 4? Well, I guess 5 if I keep ignoring HL, but does it match up to any of them? Which one? I don't know. What's this? Is this a side or an angle?
Side.
What's this?
Angle.
What's this?
Side.
So what do you got there?
Sass.
Sass. All right, so that'd be step 4. So 4 steps, okay? You guys, you got to get in the habit of using that packet. You can stare at your pictures on your paper all you want. I mean the problems when you get to the homework. So this should be given is first, so WX and YZ. Let's see, second thing, I got the 2 next to the alternate interior angles, so 2. Okay. Again, just to remind you, right? The only reason I'm using 1 and 2 here is because I physically drew in a 1 and 2 on the angles that I'm marking congruent. If you don't put those there and you put 1 and 2, like if you write this step, do not draw that on the picture for me, I will not count it. Okay, so if you're going to do that, make sure you add the 1 and 2. See, the other thing was that reflexive side, the overlapping side, which is XZ. And then at that point, we had enough. So WXZ X. Now side angle side. All right, so first step would be.
There goes the bell.
There it is. Marking the givens. Okay. Again, once you're done with the givens, reference back to the pictures you got. See if the pictures match up to anything. Okay, which they should, or there should be something that's very similar to that. What? What did you say? Yeah. Okay. So the vertical angles here would be those 2. So again, just for the sake of writing it, I'll put a 1 and 2 there. So that's my second step. At that point, I don't have parallel lines. There's no reflexive sides. There's no midpoints or any of that junk. So I have to kind of hope that this matches up to one of those 4. AAS? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you got, there's your 1 angle, there's your other angle, there's your side. And then 3 we were done, that was the angle side. So that was LOM. All right, so again, the whole steps, guys, okay? These should be the same steps every single time. You mark off what's on the picture. They kind of do that for you. like if I was doing this in terms of marking it off, besides drawing in the right angles, when you kind of note this on the picture, if you want to, don't actually write in the things that are congruent. Just write something like, this is bisected, just so that you understand that there's a separation between steps. When you actually write the parts that's congruent, that's a separate step besides this. This is just stating something. Okay, so the way I would deal with this is I would say, look, this given here says that something is bisected, which again means split in half. So I know this segment is the one that's being bisected. So that means that I'm going to put congruent marks there and there. Okay? Because if I'm bisecting a segment, it's going to create two segments that are the same. All right, that's going to be step 2 because step 1 was doing the givens. Okay? What else can I mark off based on the way the picture looks?
Vertical angles.
Vertical angles. So that'll be step 3. Okay? Then look, here's the thing. This is a step that most people skip because that's a right angle, so is that, correct? Which, if I put those boxes on, people automatically think it's already marked off as being congruent. But you actually need to have a step saying they are congruent. So there's going to be like a 4th step that's kind of off to the side. And this happens when you have right angles, saying B is congruent to D. Okay, because for me to actually utilize these, remember the A stands for a pair of angles being congruent. So if I include these in there, then I would have had to somewhere say that they actually are congruent. And then we'd be done because like that's 1A, that's your S, that's an A. Which should match up to that one right there. Okay? Gotcha. Alright, so in terms of writing this out, I've got B and D are right angles. Okay, so first step was given. Second thing that I did, if you guys do these on your own and your order changes, that doesn't matter. As long as every step is accounted for at some point. So I got BC is congruent to CD. What's that? Okay. Third step was the vertical angles, and just like before, I put 1 and 2 there, just to save time writing. Fourth thing was me actually saying the right angles are congruent, which, like I said, that's a step most people skip. That costs you points, so don't do it. And that's just saying all right angles are congruent. And then that was it. BC, that was angle side.